Hey guys, welcome to Performance Anxiety. I am your host, Mark, and we are here on the Pantheon Podcast Network. And before we get into too much, I want to thank everybody for tuning in week after week and listening to these great stories. And I want to thank AKG for this amazing headphone and microphone setup that they've sent specifically for podcasters. It's working out beautifully, as I hope you guys can tell. Let's welcome singer, guitarist, and all-around chill dude Ryan Scully to the podcast. We talk about a lot of different topics, getting a little philosophical at times, but in a way that ultimately ends in one of us laughing. He tells how he wound up in New Orleans after growing up in Missouri, working in his family's restaurant. He also tells me about how he found his own voice as a songwriter. He's written a children's album that's on Bandcamp, and even been able to incorporate his kids into his wider releases. And we have a mutual love for alternate tunings and feedback. So check him out on the socials at Dadoofurus, DADOOPHORUS. Follow us at Performance ANX. Subscribe, rate, review, buy us coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. And merch is at performanceanx.threadless.com. Now, I've got my adult beverage. I suggest you grab one as well. And let's get into Ryan Scully on Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network.
All right. Hey, everyone. This is R. Scully from New Orleans, member of Morning 40 Federation, Rough 7, and just released a new record, New Confusion, which I wrote in my attic. Are listening to the Performance Anxiety Podcast with my new buddy, Mark. All right, man. Hey, sorry that my phone died. You had me mesmerized, man. I was into your story, and good times, man. I don't know if I have anything to wave at you here, man.
No.
Let's see, where's my gun? I got my $100 guitar here.
That I can deal with.
Yeah, it's tuned to an open G.
Oh, there you go.
I've been messing around with that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, a lot of the songs on this record I did in open G.
Okay.
Just as a way of, exploring. You get stuck sometimes when you're on, a standard tuned guitar and you've been playing long enough to where you're like stuck in the same patterns and stuff, Oh, yeah. And so you change the tuning and all of a sudden you're writing new riffs and shit like that. So
yeah, you kind of get that muscle memory going when you stick in the same tuning. Yeah.
And so it's a good way to, if you're looking to write something, it takes a little while to warm up, but I'm also doing some finger picking stuff and
cool.
Some blues boogie stuff. Like R.L. Burnside type stuff.
Oh, nice.
Working on. So I try to, I'm not a virtuoso, but by any means, but I do like to explore different instruments and, I play them all really primitively.
Oh, sometimes that gets the most emotion out of them.
I don't know. It's like, okay, I can't write a song on the guitar, so I'm going to tune it this different way. And then there's a song. Oh, man, look at that.
There you go.
or bang on the piano or, get a banjo or it's just, just expanding out. I like to, rather than learn one instrument really well.
Yeah.
I just fuck around primitively on a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah. It keeps you fresh.
Yeah.
And I was listening to some of the older stuff, and it's really interesting. Like, all right, so I'm listening to, so the Morning 40 Federation. I'm listening, and I'm loving Washing Machine and Dumpster Juice. Those songs are awesome. but I gotta be honest with you, I like the Rough 7 better.
Oh yeah,
that was really cool. It's a little more raw. To me, it's a little less jazzy, a little more raw. Particularly the songs, and I was just listening to the live stuff. Had a Home and Not Insane Anymore they blew me away. Those were great tracks.
Someday I will see you differently. And I hope that it looks the same. Someday I will look at you and see it differently.
oh yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Rough 7. We were definitely known for, and I mean, Mike Andropont was the drummer for the 40s and for Rough 7. He was my drummer for, years. Musical partner, I guess you could say.
Okay.
He's in he moved to Brooklyn about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
His wife got a job up there, and and they're doing really well. But playing with, in Rough 7 was really, we would go out. So Rough 7 was it was a band that would take chances a lot.
It seems that way.
Yeah. Morning 40s were more apt, especially towards more recently, to just stick with song structure.
Okay.
Like, we're just going to do the song this way, different levels of energy, but it was definitely Rough 7. We're like, you know what? During this part, let's just figure it out.
Oh, nice.
So a lot of that stuff, I might change the song in the middle of it, or I might just be like, bring it down, or just those kind of things. And so sometimes, we would just bomb. Because, when you're trying to it's a risk. It's called a risk for a reason.
Right.
Because you can play the song exactly as it's written, and it's going to come out that way, and you're going to get a reaction, I guess, based on how good the song is and whatever the energy in the room. But you can take a risk, and you can be like, let's play it really loosely and see what kind of energy happens.
Yeah.
But and I'm going to change in the middle of the song what you expect I'm going to do, and you follow, right, and see if you can follow, and so the improvisational element of that can really juice the energy.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're hitting it right,
Yeah.
if you're hitting it, and so Rough 7, we would often transcend, have these great shows because of that. And we were really experimental with noise and feedback and stuff like that.
That's what I was going to ask you about, because I love that kind of stuff. I mean, I was getting kind of like on some of the tracks, and even on the new album, I'm getting a little bit of like a Being There era Wilco vibe with some of the music bed underneath, like the noise and the feedback.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's I like a lot of Wilco's stuff. I like to think, I try to not be quite as white as Wilco.
Right.
But I'm not knocking it. I just like black music a lot.
Oh yeah.
That's where, all great American music comes from.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, though, the feedback and noise element that Wilco does, in some stuff, and experimental stuff like that, soundscapes, I'm totally into that. And I'm also, and Jeff Tweedy is just a kick-ass songwriter.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Rob Cambry is a guitarist in Rough 7.
Okay. And
he's an avant guitarist. So before he joined the band, he was, pretty much strictly an avant noise jazz guitarist.
Oh, really? Cool.
And he books shows in New Orleans when shows are going.
When they existed, yeah.
Yeah, and he brings like all these guys that I don't know who they are, you know, but they come down and it's all improvisational noise, jazz shit.
That's awesome.
And so he joins the band because our other guitarist didn't want to do it anymore. And he just comes in and he's like, well, I'm not sure I could do it, you know? And we're like, you can do it, man. And, you know, cause he's like, how am I going to play country shit, you know? Cause he's just used to freeform. Like, I mean, he's pretty well known in those circles. Rob Cambry, he played a show, a duel, just him and Thurston Moore one time.
Oh, wow.
Here in New Orleans, it's just two of them plugging into amps and they both just, you know,
that's amazing.
It was super good. It was like Rob's dream come true, but but he's the real deal. And so with Rough 7, we had that opportunity, you know, with him and also Ratty Skirvix, who is the keyboard player, who's also a freaking force of nature on his own, and he can freak out. And so that band just had, and Stu Odom, the bass player, every one of those guys can just freak the fuck out on their own. Yeah. And so, you know, you give them a country song, you know, and then I'll just like, hold on, you know, just do that. And then it's like, whoa, you know, then crazy things happen. Yeah. It's so yeah, man, that playing with that band is fun. And it'll happen again. Mike Anderpont grew up in Eunice, Louisiana. Like he's the only, Rob Cambry also, but Mike is like Cajun. You know? Yeah. Like Louisiana is home. He's coming back. Yeah. You know, it's, you know, I'm like, we're just hold on. He'll be back.
Be patient.
Like, be patient. Louisiana's home. We'll be rocking again before you know it. But in the meantime, I'm going to make a record. You know, I'm done. Yeah. Just, you know, and so him being gone actually gave me the opportunity to make this record, you know, this new Confusion record. Yeah, yeah. Now, how did you get into music in the first place? Now, where are you from originally? From Missouri. I grew up in Missouri, small town up there, Warrensburg, Missouri. And so I was a fanatic about music in high school. And, you know, like I think I heard Debaser, you know, the Pixies, like the Doolittle record. And, and it just like blew my mind to where, I mean, my older brother used to listen to like new wave. He was 2 years older than me. Okay. So I remember him listening to stuff. But for some reason, it was Pixies and Jane's Addiction too. Like, you know, around that, the early shit. Yeah, yeah. And I remember listening to like Jane Says. I guess I must have been like 14 or something, or I don't know. And I was like, and I stole his tape. You know, and I'm like listening to it on my boombox in my room, like over and over and over again. You know. Yeah, yeah. And it was just one of those things where I was like, why is this shit not on the radio? Yeah. You know, and then it became that thing like, well, I'm the only one that knows. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And then, like me and one of my buddies, you know, we both kind of fell in love with the underground music, you know, in the early 90s. And then we started to seek it out, right? Yeah. We would drive to Columbia, Missouri, about an hour and a half. That's MU, University of Missouri, and there was a street side records there, and we would just go in there. You know, I guess it's 15 and 16, because just got our license, and we go in there and say, "Hey, man, what's new, man? What's new?" Yeah. You know, because it was just our own. It was our thing, you know. Yeah. Our own, and so I was a fanatic about music, but I never really thought about playing. But it's kind of weird. It skipped a generation, I guess, because my grandfather, my dad's dad, who died when he was 14, was real close with Irving Berlin. Oh, wow. And he was a musician. And supposedly, as the story goes, the song "The Hostess with the Mostess," you know, was written about my grandmother. Oh, wow! So he was in the military during World War II. Okay, and he was in charge of like entertainment for the soldiers.
Okay.
Right. In Italy. And so my grandmother was a nurse for the Red Cross, and she was in charge of like the entertainment for the Red Cross. Right. So they met that way. And my uncle, my grandfather knew her from Berlin. And so like they all kind of hooked up at the same time to provide entertainment for soldiers in World War II. And that's when my grandfather met my grandmother, was with Mr. B, as what she used to call, when she tells stories, she called him Mr. B. I mean, we're talking White Christmas, man.
That's amazing.
So he was like a songwriter, and he had clubs in New York, and but he's enigmatic. He died. My dad was pretty young, and but it sucks because kind of, and then it skipped. My dad and his brothers never really learned how to play any instruments, and then it just somebody showed me like 3 chords in college. Yeah, and I'm like, shit, I can write songs. Yeah. And I seriously, I don't even remember. I don't remember like not writing a song like with 3 chords. Yeah. Show me the 3 chords, and then I'm like off to the races writing. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was. So since then, I haven't been able to stop, man. I've actually many times wanted to stop. Oh, no.
So did you start gigging right away, or were you just playing, woodshedding in your dorm room, or?
No, I was pretty ready to get out and play. I remember doing, open mic, like me and a friend, my friend Eddie Credit.
That's a great name.
We would go out and, do 2 guitars and play, and we go to like these open mics, and just, there'd be like metal guys there, and they'd heckle us, and we were terrible. But then put together a band in Columbia, Missouri, and we were called the Attack Family, and we made a lot of great, some good music, but with really crappy lyrics.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was listening to some of it, just kind of trying to catalog stuff. Yeah. And I'm like, oh no. And but in the kernel of, I was deeply into Fugazi. It blew my, we used to go and see them at this outhouse in Lawrence, Kansas. And it was just a shack in a cornfield.
Oh, wow.
And they would just drive up in their rental truck, right? Yeah. Like where everybody's there, they just come in, set up, tape their chords down, and just kick ass. Wow. And it just, I was, I weighed like $105, man. I'm like a kid, and I'm like stage diving. I'm like in the pit with the skinheads. Wow. I'm like, falling down, and they're picking me up and shit. And that stuff totally blew my mind, and then kind of deeply into the seriousness of music, at that age.
Yep. I know the feeling.
And then I saw the Blues Explosion open up for the Breeders.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is the shit. This is it. Because, after Cobain died and all that, it was sort of like this whole thing of like the angst thing is sort of like, I don't want to deal with the angst anymore. Yeah. And like the Blues Explosion happened at just the right time, for this, like, just like blues cliches all over the place. I'm like, I love this. Yeah. Because I'm not thinking about anything here. Yeah. Like, this is just like feel body music.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so, but the problem with that is a lot of my early shit was clearly inspired by that. Whether it was clearly inspired by, grunge or Blues Explosion, or it just was, it was like so too clearly.
Yeah.
I wasn't. It wasn't me. You know, I was like, what am I doing here?
Right.
I'm basically just doing I'm overly inspired by this shit, and it's clear in this early music.
Oh wow.
But then moving here, opened up a lot of things, and I think I've finally found my voice. But I still take. I'm still heavily inspired by other music when I
don't
write.
think anybody can help but be, whether you admit it or not. I think that's the big difference.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I'm trying to write, like that song on New Confusion, Get Meta.
Yes. I'm
like, if I want to write something kind of melodic, I'll try to sing like Wayne Coyne.
Oh, cool.
Like, okay. So, and I'm not going to do it right now.
I didn't think about that.
Talk about yourself like you're somewhere else. Get meta. You're a link between two worlds. Get meta. You're a dream between two worlds. Get meta.
But I'll be like, I'll listen to because he writes kind of melodic, stuff.
Oh yeah.
But if you try to do an impression of Wayne Coyne and play a few chords, you'll write some melodic stuff, and whether it's good. But so, and it's interesting. I heard McCartney on a podcast just recently.
Okay.
And he said he does that when he tries to when he writes a lot, is that he will put himself, he said specifically, he's like, I want to sound like Big Bill Broonzy on the song. And so he'll try to sing like Big Bill Broonzy in order to conjure the song. And then I was like, not to connect myself with McCartney.
Why not?
But I'm like, dude, I do that too, man.
Yeah.
Because, in a lot of ways, I mean, how much original shit can you do? I mean, what hasn't been done? I guess if you knew what hasn't been done, then
it's actually already been done.
Yeah. Everything's pretty much. So finding my voice is, it's, what is it? I'm not really that sure. It's I mean, I guess you just kind of leave it to the listener to figure out what it is, and you just put your stuff down when you feel like it, when it comes to you, as it comes to you, and
when the muse hits.
Yeah, when the muse hits, I guess is what you do, and then I guess that is the map of who you are, I guess, So
what brought you down to New Orleans?
Well, I had a good friend that I met in Missouri, and he was from New Orleans.
Okay.
And I met him in school. He was actually a dishwasher at my parents' restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And I met him because I used to work there, and I came back to my hometown for the summer, and he was a dishwasher there. And he taught me how to do gravity bongs and stuff.
Important stuff.
And he wore green jeans, and I just thought that was the baddest. It was so badass. And so he went back to New Orleans, and I was like, told my parents, I'm like, I think it was my junior year. I said, I think I'm done. And they're like, okay, at dinner, and they're like, okay. So I was like, I'm going to move to New Orleans. And then the next day I got a call, and they're like, you're not fucking moving to New Orleans. Until you are going to finish this degree. And I'm glad that I did that. I was like, okay. Yeah. They're like, you do not have our blessing. But as soon as I graduated, I split and headed to New Orleans. And, I also went for musical reasons.
Yeah.
I was listening to, some traditional jazz at that time.
Okay.
And I wanted to explore deeper, jazz, and I did. And I learned a lot of, jazz chords and traditional jazz songs are like the best songs ever written. I mean, it's this, that's song structure,
Yeah.
you want to learn how to write songs, learn, all of me, learn when you're smiling, learn, when the Saints go marching in, learn all, that is to me, a good song. Usually I see a good song as, well, there's sort of two ways to look at it. I think there's kind of two parts of who I am as a songwriter.
Okay.
I really like a nice clean package of a story.
Right.
Like Hank Sr.
Okay. Yeah.
Give me like 3 minutes and the story and a chord progression, with a good hook and a hook and a story. And I'm like, that it's just like to me, like the pinnacle of what art can be, man. It's like, you just told me a story and made me cry in 3 minutes.
Exactly. That's not easy to do.
No, it's very difficult, right? I mean, because you got to find a hook, a melody, right? Yep. The chord progression, the verse, the theme.
Exactly. It's got to be something compelling if it's going to be, if you're looking for, if somebody's paying attention to lyrics. So
yeah. I'd pay attention to lyrics.
Yeah.
Yes. So the story, you need the story, the theme, and it can't just be like, I fell in love and she broke my heart. Like, it's got to have like an angle on that, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I love, that's definitely one way I would go, and if I was looking at this record is definitely a little more stream of consciousness, but it's like Go Home, the last song on the record.
Oh, I love that song.
I nailed, I think that part of me that wants to write that package of a song, right? That tells the story, right? And it ends, and like you started off and it ends, with a verse and a chorus, and you get the full feeling of what the person is trying to say, right?
Yeah.
That's one thing I like to do, right?
I was going to tell you, once we got to that Go Home, I thought it was the best. It's the perfect way to end the album. I mean, it's dreamy, it's foggy, a little bittersweet. It's just, it sounds like the night's over.
Time seems to shrink. It was 9:30 when your first message arrived, but someone had just bought me a drink. I don't wanna be the last one to go home.
Yeah, and there's a lot of regret.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Right. I mean, it's that is written straight from the heart. That one. I mean, it's like that. And my friend Rick Huckel, who is a trombone player in the Morning 40s, he was just in town recently and he stayed at my house. And he was like, he said, "Oh, I listened to your record. I finally listened to it." He goes like, now I know how to write songs. And I know how to make a record. I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, just make a map of your mind. because he's like, he's listening to this and he goes, he's like looking at me like, that record is a map of your mind. And I was like, man, I think you're right.
Whoa.
Because there's a lot of real, true stuff in here that I'm like, wow, that's not just, with a Tin Pan Alley. So, like where you're writing a song from another point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I'm going to put myself in a character and write a song.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Which is a way to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, in this case, these songs are are pretty much, like all from this guy.
Right.
From this guy. But I mean, sometimes I'll write stuff that's not, but for the most part, I try to write, from the gut, You
didn't have much of a choice with this album because you started it after the pandemic basically locked the country down.
Exactly. And this is when, like you wouldn't even go to anywhere.
Yeah.
When I did this, people had loosened up quite a bit, but remember at the beginning, when you're like sterilizing your packages when they come in.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff, do you do that? I don't do that anymore.
No.
Nobody does that anymore. Everyone's like wiping down their packages.
I haven't had the luxury of doing that because I had to go to work every day through this whole thing. I had to drive 45 minutes to my job this whole time. So...
Well, that sucks.
Yeah, here's the thing. My employer says, I work for a medical device company here in Virginia.
Uh-huh.
And my employer tells me that I'm essential.
Uh-huh.
But then when I tell them I'd like a raise because I'm essential, they tell me that I'm not that essential. So I'm essential enough to drive 45 minutes to work through a global pandemic. But when I want to raise, like, we could do without you. But in their defense, there's just absolutely no way to do my job from home. So we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Well, I was a teacher for 9.5 years in middle school and high school.
Oh, wow.
And I quit before Christmas last year.
Oh, wow.
To pursue some other, other stuff. And so when the pandemic first hit, I was like, God damn it. Why did I quit?
Yep.
All the teachers are going home.
Yeah.
And getting paid. But then about a month later, like when they had to go, I was like, oh man, thank God I got this. Cause I work from home now and I like my job, but like you were saying, during that time period I couldn't get anybody to play with me.
Yeah.
If I'm writing a song, one of the great things about band practice is like, hey dudes, I got this idea. I got this chord progression. Can you play, this melody, with this and with this drum beat and, and let's see how it sounds like, cause it's in my mind. I think it could be pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's nobody to do that with. Right. So I'm like, well, you know what I'm going to do? And I made a children's record that I've been working on for years. And I finished that sort of at the beginning of the pandemic. And so I got decent enough to like use the software.
Okay.
To do it. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go up and spend this time making this. And I really was just demoing stuff at first.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm just going to demo this stuff. And then what do you do when a demo becomes good enough where you're like, this is not a demo?
Yeah. And this whole pandemic thing doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon.
Right. And so I'm like, I think I finished one of them, 1 or 2 or 3. And I'm like, well, I think I might be, this could be working.
Yeah.
And so I, continually worked. And before you know it, I got 10 songs and I'm like, holy shit, this is a record.
Yeah.
And then a record label wants to pick it up. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
I didn't even need a band this whole time.
Or no, maybe I'm like, Prince always just recorded his own records by himself, right?
That's true.
And then he'd bring it to put a band together and be like, play this, play this, play this, play this.
Yep.
But like you were saying earlier, that's certainly not my style because I like the energy of playing with, I can't go in and be like, hey dude, can you play this?
Right.
I mean, I can go in and say, listen to this part. Can, let this inspire you.
You like the camaraderie of a band. You don't want to be a band director.
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, the energy. I mean, first of all, nobody's getting paid a whole bunch of money, right?
Right.
So, if you're getting paid a lot, then you'd be like, okay, play this exactly. Right?
Yeah.
But if you're just basically doing it because you love playing music, you're not going to want to go to band practice and have some guy boss you around.
No.
You want to go off on you want to do your thing and create with the person. You got to have buy-in, and that's good for everyone, man. If everybody contributes to the performance and to the creation process, then you feel it. You feel it. The audience feels it, and so the way we've been performing these songs, and we've done a few shows like live streams, and also we played in the park by my house.
Okay.
We ran like 8 extension cords from my friend's house into the park.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we kicked ass. It was like, awesome. And so we're going to do it again, and hopefully we won't get busted, because they did say that they're going to start fining people for doing shit like that.
Oh, geez.
But I'm like, you know what? Let's just get fined and tape the whole thing when the cops come and be like, hey, man, how could you do this to us, man? We're musicians. We're trying to make money, and you're going to try to get like some...
I've been out of work for a year.
Yeah, come on, man. Dance with me, man.
And you know what? Then we'll release this. We'll do a GoFundMe for the bail money.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. I mean, but... we're going to do on January 2nd, we're going to do a yard sale, like a block. Everybody on the block, like in the park by my house, we're going to do a yard sale. And then 10-gallon tinfoil hat, which is the band that's backing me up on this, is going to do another show. So we do what we have to do, man.
That's right.
Just have to borrow a few extension cords.
Make sure the cops don't take those when you get arrested.
No way, man. No, they're not getting that stuff.
So when you're doing this stuff live, is it all is it just all music, the music from the new album, or is it all stuff too?
No, because 10-gallon tinfoil hat. So after Mike left, left the 40s and the Rough 7. Yeah. I've been booking shows at this bar called BJ's in my neighborhood. And we have this Friday night at BJ's, and it's been doing that for over 2 years when pandemic hit. And we have lots of, great bands there. In fact, New Orleans has a really great scene of country traditional music, young people. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you've heard of Mashed Potato Records, those releases that they've done. Okay. The real analog, all tape machine, like Sam Doors, Jackson and the Janks, Tuba Skinny, Chris Acker.
I don't know. Tuba Skinny, I got to check that out. I haven't heard of that.
Oh, they're traditional jazz, but they're young. So, I mean, there's a really great scene. And so in looking at and watching these young people, I'm like, I loved how they're really driven to honor the tradition. Yeah. Right. And so they do country music like how it should be done. Oh, cool. Like nice. Old school, like Buck Owens and nice. And so I'm like watching these guys, and I'm inspired by these young players, so just sort of like the way that they don't deviate from it, meaning like they're very consistent about they're going to sound like this, and it's going to be their,
that's who they are.
Yeah. And I like that. And so I put together this band, 10-gallon tinfoil hat, with this idea that we're going to play country like as straight as we can. Right. Okay. But then we're also like going to freak the fuck out.
Awesome.
So the whole idea, the 10-gallon hat, right? Yeah. Meets the tinfoil hat.
That's brilliant.
So, and so we had about 8 to 10 songs, maybe 10 songs before the pandemic happened. Some were like totally straight country. and then some were like AM noise, better, and so that band, when I started doing this, I was thinking, I'm going to demo these songs for the band.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But, as time went by, I'm like, I'm just going to keep this. So right now the band is playing a mixture of the songs we wrote together.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, and then also the songs from New Confusion.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And you can see on the 10-Gallon Tinfoil Hat Facebook page, I think it's R Scully and 10-Gallon Tinfoil Hat, all one word.
Okay.
You can see there's a live performance that we do, a live stream that to celebrate the release of New Confusion.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So why did you name the album New Confusion?
You don't know?
I'm a little confused.
Is this new for you? Anyway, so just like everyone, at one point early on in the pandemic, I thought I was dying of COVID.
Right.
I thought I couldn't breathe. Right. Didn't have a fever, but was just was so sure I had it. Right. Because I'm just paranoid. Paranoid. So I went and got tested, and went through. It's like a drive-through one, and we go through and get swabbed and stuff, and they give you this brochure and stuff, and they're like a list of things to look for. Right. If you think you have it. Right. And one of those things was New Confusion.
Okay.
Yeah, so like if you have New Confusion, you need to get your ass tested.
I got a shit ton of confusion, but it's old. I've been confused about a lot of new things lately.
No, New Confusion. If you're feeling that, you need to, especially if it's coupled with shortness of breath,
and
get your ass to the hospital.
I've got New Confusion and a fever. I'm going down.
I'm newly confused every morning.
I've got a daily New Confusion.
What is this?
I'm in my mid to late 40s with 3 teenagers. I am always confused.
Oh, you got 3, huh?
Yeah, 16, 17, and my oldest will be 18 in January.
Wow, you got busy.
Yeah.
I got 3 too. I got a 9, an 11, 9, and 7.
Oh man, so you spaced them out. We didn't do that.
Wow, you went for it.
Yeah, my wife and I were just like, let's get it done.
Making them is fun.
Yeah, supporting them not so much.
Yeah, they are. I'm so lucky to have such good kids. Good kids.
Yeah. And you actually have your daughter on the album.
Right. Look at Papa. Yeah.
That is a cool track. It's really catchy.
Don't bring your sadness around here.
Look at my Papa, look at my brother.
It made me feeling so funny.
Look at my Papa, look at my brother.
Take it with you and hit the road, baby, baby.
Stretch it out.
Don't bring your madness around
Look
here.
at my Papa, look at my brother.
It make you seeming so ugly.
Look at my Papa, look at my brother.
Take it with you. And
Yeah. Well, I hope so. That was so. I recorded that on a voice memo. Maybe at least a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And we were just driving in the car, and she just started doing that. She in New Orleans, we've never been, we always, she has been in her daycare. She's been a minority at the daycare, at dance, at everything,
Yeah.
So she's got some soul, because we've never, it's all, we're all in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not private school people. We're like,
Right.
you go and do your thing. And so she just said that. I was like, say that again. That was so soulful how you said that. Look at my papa. Look at my brother. I'm like, damn, girl, that was good.
It really is.
And so I recorded it on a voice memo, and I'm like, and that's the thing with me I'm just, more than anything, I'm persistent with an idea. And so that idea was just in my head, and I knew I had it in my phone. And then just when I came up here and I was recording and just like, thinking of ideas and stuff, I was like, oh yeah, there's that look at my papa line that she did. And so I just transferred that, into GarageBand, and then found a drum loop that kind of fit with it, and it lined up just right.
Oh, that's cool.
And then, it just happened like that. And, people are like, man, how did you line that up so well? I was like, I don't know. It just did.
That's my girl's soul.
I know. It's just, it's Cece, man.
She's got that beat in her.
She does, man. She does. So, yeah, I mean, it's really fun to include them. The thing I did before this was a kid's record, and they're all over that.
Oh, cool.
And that you could listen to that on my Bandcamp, rscully.bandcamp.com. It's called Eat Your Toes.
Oh.
The cover of it is my son Wyatt.
Yeah.
We took my daughter's foot and put a hamburger in a hamburger bun, covered it with ketchup and mustard and lettuce and tomato, and put the bun on top, and got a picture of Wyatt.
Oh my gosh.
And the record's called Eat Your Toes.
That is awesome.
And there's a song called Eat Your Toes on there too.
That's so funny.
It's a good record, man. It's fun, and it's all done at home too. It actually not 3 of the tracks. I got some players to play on.
Cool.
Yeah, some real Alex McMurray. I don't know if you heard of him.
No.
He's an excellent songwriter. World renowned. He's lives in our neighborhood.
Nice.
And, some other real New Orleans jazz guys to play on 3 of the songs, because they're like trad sounding, and so it's a little mix of some things. And but yeah, I never really liked it when people would include their kids on their albums,
Yeah.
But then I had kids. So.
Yeah.
Like when Tom Waits he's got his son on drum, like, what is this shit?
Nepotism. If I was a musician, the only thing I've got I have my son in when he was he's 17 now. It's probably when he was 8, doing screaming in a death metal growl, chicken monkey duck.
Oh yeah,
he's just going chicken monkey duck, chicken monkey duck, chicken monkey duck,
Chicken monkey duck! Chicken monkey duck! Chicken monkey duck!
And that's about the only thing that I've got.
With the double bass going.
Yeah. Doing some blasts.
Oh man, that sounds hot. Dude.
Now I gotta send that to somebody.
You should.
I gotta go back to some of my death metal interviews and send it. Hey, do something with this. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So what made you do a children's record? How did that get started?
It's just like with kids, you start singing songs to them, and I'm like, and that's that at certain times I'm like, am I missing out on actually enjoying this? Because, I start singing to my kid, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty catchy. Maybe I should record that. Maybe I can make some money off that.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's in my DNA, man, but then it was one of these goals of mine to where I'm like, I want to leave something for them. The record has a song about each of them on it.
Oh, awesome.
So it was also a way of expressing my love for them, in my own way. And so when I'm gone, they'll have something like that, it'd be like Daddy's song he wrote, about me, that was one of those things I just was on in my plans for 5 years.
Wow.
Or something. And then I finally wrapped it up. And again, it's just that persistence. And so it really was, it's like, remember, it's like the map of my mind.
Yeah.
It's a map of my mind. It's like, so, I mean, if I got kids, what am I going to write about?
It makes sense.
The kids. Right. So it's part of who I am that I'm just, if something's happening in my life, there's a good chance I might write about it.
Well, now I feel like maybe I should do a podcast about my kids.
Yeah. This is becoming one right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think I've mentioned them more in this one. Chicken monkey dog. Yeah, and he's got the whole. He's got the arms. He's got the arms. He's like chicken monkey dog. Chicken monkey dog. Oh, it's hilarious. I gotta find the video. My wife took it on the way to school one day. It just killed me. Oh man. So all right. So that's old confusion. So now back to new confusion.
Yeah, new confusion.
All right. So I really love the opener. Manhole is such a cool tune. It gives me like a super chill Kurt Weill vibe.
Standing on a manhole, wishing that I'd never grow old. About a TV show, how I wanna sit and watch some more.
Nice.
I absolutely love it. It's such a great opener.
That's definitely one of my best songs I've ever written, I think. I mean, it I don't know. That one took a long time to get right. I actually kind of copied the chord progression from City of New Orleans.
Oh, really?
Interestingly, well, I mean, you can't notice it. It's just I learned that song because I played it. Well, I was asked to play it in a funeral for somebody's father, for Rob Cambry's father, actually.
Oh, wow, okay.
They ended up choosing Merle Haggard's Silver Wings instead, but I did learn the song, and it was a country song at first, like pretty straight.
Yeah.
Standing on a manhole, wondering if I ever so, like that. It's kind of like that. And then I made it like that. And then I wasn't happy with it. And so I deconstructed it. And instead of doing guitar chords, had the bass and the synth do the chords instead, and sort of spaced it out that way. And then the lyrics kind of have many layers to them. It's I mean, the kernel of the song was me walking the dog in the morning, and guess where I was standing? On a fucking manhole.
I'm confused.
I could go out and show you the manhole if you want.
Clear up my confusion. I must not have COVID.
This one right here.
Yeah.
And so it's just, I'm Catholic. I have a tendency to
me too.
wonder about my soul.
Yeah, me too.
And maybe the consequences of what I'm doing here. And then also, what are the consequences of wasting your time binge watching a fucking, something,
Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, like I'm gonna when I could be like feeding the homeless,
right?
What I mean?
Yeah,
but it's like, and it's just, and it's also this existential question about where does he, after the final episode, where does the hero go?
Yeah,
where does he go? Nobody knows, Exactly. And so it's like, I don't know. It has a pretty important. I say it's one of my best songs because because of how I produced it and deconstructed it, right. And because when you start recording yourself, the recording process also becomes the art form as well. Because you're not just writing a song, if you're writing a song and recording it while you're writing it, the recording process is an instrument.
Okay.
So, how you produce it, and how you deconstruct it, or what instruments you use, or what sounds you use, or, that's all part of it. And so really, when this record is really, I would say the other instrument that I play on this record is the production process, because I did it all.
Yeah.
And so I guess when I say that's one of my favorite songs that I've written, it's probably because I have full ownership, and it's something that, when I say full ownership, just like I did it from standing on that manhole, at dusk, right? I mean, at dawn, to 3 months later, putting the last fade out, right? I'm like, I made something here, it's like, there's just, it's not, there's something important, sort of self-empowered, or what did Ralph Waldo Emerson say? You're able to do it on your own, right?
Okay,
You do it all on your own, right?
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons I'm super proud of this record, and Manhole especially.
Well, you should be, because honestly, I don't know how many songs I've heard that feature cold cuts. And that is one of the coolest songs. My Little Phony. I think it's the first song I've ever heard that focuses on cold cuts, specifically bologna.
My little phony. Nobody even eats bologna. My little phony. Nobody even eats bologna. It comes in little circles. You put it between some bread. My little phony.
I'm pretty sure that's what Emerson was referencing when he was talking about doing things on your own.
That one, yeah. So remember,
you may need to get tested for COVID after you wrote that song. That may have been new confusion.
That was, sir, definitely was. So you're gonna see, where "Go Home" is like a song in a package and the theme. There's a lot of stuff on here too where I'm like, that was my first take of lyrics, and there was no lyrics before that. It's like, I just turned the mic on and just started saying shit. and then I'm totally serious too. That part of the element of, I think, when you recording all by yourself, to make it enjoyable for yourself is, again, to take some chances. Yeah. And so, that and COVID Sheets, man, I didn't write any of that stuff. Really? None of it.
Wow.
I just said it. The music was going, and I'm like, I pressed go, and I just started saying shit off the top of my head.
That is so cool. And what I really love and appreciate about that is that a lot of other people will say, yeah, we did that, and then not put it on an album. Like, that's just something we were just working out, just getting some ideas. The fact that you put it on the album is amazing. I love that. See, I used to do improv. I went into DC and go to classes, do improv, and I love comedic improv. I'm not a musician. I can strum a couple chords, but I couldn't even tell you what they were because I can't read music and I don't know what the hell they are.
Right.
But I love comedy. I love improvisational comedy. I love improvisational music, and doing something that's totally improv and silly. Being brave enough to just say, you know what, that's cool. I want to put that out. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was inspired in Ween, early Ween,
Yes.
you know, like God, Ween, Satan, and the Pod.
The Pod, yeah.
And, you know, like and also like early Beck, like One Foot in the Grave and Stereopathetic Soul Manure. I don't know if you ever listen to that stuff.
Yes.
It was those guys, obviously, they were recording themselves.
Yep.
Often, more often than not, they're recording directly into the recording device.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
You can tell.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of when I was doing that stuff, I was thinking that in my mind. You know, I'm like, because when they would do something funny on those records, right? They didn't delete it and redo it.
No, not at all.
They went with it, man. And you know, that's why a lot of those songs, you know, those early ones, people are like, man, this is just some stupid, but the songs were really good.
Yeah.
But they were, the way they recorded it, they didn't try to make it perfect. And they relished in the mistakes that were made and the funny shit that happened while it was being recorded.
Yep.
Not like while the process of recording, but while the record button was, you know.
Yeah.
And so in some ways I was like thinking, there's not enough of that these days.
Oh, I agree completely.
To where I'm like, you know, this on my little phony.
Yeah.
So I went and I was trying to record another song, this song that 10 Gallon does, and I'm trying to demo that, and I got this drum beat, and the other song was over. It was 4 minutes long. It was over, and the beat kept going, and I just kept going. And then I was playing an open G, and I started doing that riff where I'm like, you know. My little phony. You know? and so I'm like, and so basically what that song is, I just cut the other song off.
Okay.
And then went with that because the bass line was cool, and all of that was improvised.
That's awesome.
So I made it a point to be like, okay, I did that. Now I'm going to do a guitar part, but only once. If I fuck it up, that's it. Then I'm going to go back to it, and needless to say, I was
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so now I'm gonna lay down a lyric.
Yeah,
but only once.
That's a good time to do it.
Once.
Yeah.
Right. and so that's it. That's what you hear on the record is that, and you can, and so I hope, you know, that there's a certain subjective thing that a person that I get from a certain authenticity that you should get from it.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that it's not verse, chorus, verse, building tension and you know, and like the clean polished song. Right. Like Go Home, for example, is like that. Like I really tried to construct that. Manhole really tried to construct that. Right. But there's also this, I think it's important to have an element of authenticity where it's like, okay, my pants are off for this one.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna do something, and we're gonna see what happens. And because because what's so important about that is that you are getting a recording of its creation.
Yeah. You
are getting a recording of. The thought has not been. You're not thinking about this.
Right.
So the listener is there as it is created.
Yeah, it's a document of a song being created in the moment.
Exactly. It is, yeah. And so obviously it's not going to be like verse, chorus, verse, and like all perfect. Right. You know, it's going to be something that evolves and becomes, you know, and if you can do that and it's good and it sounds pretty good, I say put it out.
Oh yeah.
Because there's an important element of authenticity to doing that. And I wish more bands would do that. You know, that I could hear more stuff where it's like, where you can tell that they're, you know, that it's super duper fresh. Yeah. Right. Like
it's raw, but it's fun.
Yeah. It's fun. Right. You can tell the fun of it, and you can tell like, wow, these people are having fun together making this music. And and you can tell because it's not too complex, and you can tell because there's some mistakes.
Yep.
And you can tell that the tone may not be just right, you know, and everything, but you can tell that the vibe is fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's as we keep going back to in this episode, it's a map of your mind, because you've got the beautiful songs in Manhole and Go Home, but you've also got the humorous side of you coming out in My Little Phony, and you've got your kids in Look at Papa. You know, it's this whole album is a map of your mind.
It is. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of Arrested.
That's the one I was going to bring up next, because that's the one I was referencing earlier with all the feedback and
yeah. Come on, bro. This time you deserve to be arrested.
That's such a cool song.
Yeah, that one too, you know, it was a way of it's simple country song, you know.
Yeah.
It's just, but a good theme, I think, you know.
Yep.
This you know, I mean, look, the part sometimes you write a song just because of something that, you know, you're playing guitar and all of a sudden all I say is this is hard for me to say because we share DNA.
Yep.
And right from there, I'm like, okay, this is a song, you know, and that's it. Because, you know, that is something everybody has felt, right?
Yep.
And it's something that you could say in one little sentence. This is hard for me to say because we share DNA. And so I made the country song about that, you know. This time, brother, you deserve to be arrested. And that's inspired by real events and years ago. But I, you know, I'm like, okay, this is a country song. You know what I'm going to do? I am going to completely deconstruct this, and make it, and just noise it out. Noise it out. And I just was like, you know, and so like it starts off where you can hear like the guitar picking of the country guitar, right? And then I was like, this record is going to be psychedelic. I'm going to do, you know, and so we're going to take this country song and we are going to turn it inside out. And so I did. And
sure did.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Sonic Youth decided to go country for a song.
Right. Well, I was trying to achieve that. And I think that's definitely one of my favorites on there too.
Oh, yeah. Because
like the feedback thing at the end, I don't know how the fuck I did that.
See, that's the thing. I love feedback. Me too. I love soundscapes and noise, and that. Yeah. That's why I love bands like Verve and My Bloody Valentine, especially early Verve. They just and early Smashing Pumpkins. They would just. Yeah, I love that.
Play with sound. That one Smashing Pumpkins record where he had like the 5-minute feedback at the end.
Oh, Drown. The song "Drown."
But it was beautiful.
It was yes. I think you're referring to the song "Drown," which is on the soundtrack to the movie Singles.
Right. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah.
That's possibly my favorite Pumpkin song of all time.
And the feedback at the end, and I'm working on something similar. But I don't want to. Now I'm thinking about that. I've been working on this idea of. And I actually achieved it with Rough 7 but building an orchestra with feedback. So you know when you make a chord, you make a chord on your guitar and you hit your distortion pedal and you put the neck of your guitar on the amp.
Yeah.
It will do feedback in the key that your chord is.
Oh, cool.
Right.
I did not know that.
So when you do that, you can make G feedback, you can make C feedback, you can make D feedback. So I worked on and wrote out these charts, not like in real music, but like bass player does this. And so we're all doing feedback in like the first, third, and fifth of the chord of a chord progression, right? And then as it goes, you change, and so you're basically doing chords as if you had like a violin section in an orchestra, you know, that's doing that, but instead of it being violins, it's feedback.
Oh man.
And so I'm working on doing that, you know.
I'm dying to hear that already.
Yeah, I'll let you know if I ever actually achieve that, because it was super cool when we did it. It was super cool, and it just kind of got lost in the mix. But it's that persistence. I'm going to achieve that at some point, because I'm not sure it's been done.
I don't know. I know there was a guy, and your avant-garde guitarist may know this guy, Reese Chatham.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Reese Chatham does a lot of weird stuff with guitars. He's done an orchestra for 400 guitars.
Okay, so I'm sure he's done this.
He's done weird things. But see, he tends to do it on a huge scale, like 40 guitars, 400 guitars. So getting something a little more focused could sound completely different, and his is a lot of. It's hard. It's kind of. How does he
play those people?
I don't even know. They've got it on video where it's just. It's mostly public performances, but he's got a bunch of albums out, and I had a couple people on the show, not just guys, some ladies as well, who played with him. Robert Poss and Karen Hagloff were in the Band of Susans, and before Band of Susans, they played with Glenn Branca and Reese Chatham in these noise orchestras or whatever. They're just, it's crazy stuff.
I'll ask Rob about it. I know he definitely knows who that is.
Oh yeah, he might actually. If he ever wants to listen to a podcast, I had Robert Poss on and Karen Hagloff. And Karen Hagloff was a cool story because she was this avant-garde rock guitarist, and she put it all down and went to medical school and became an oncologist. It's
good call.
Yeah. Yeah. But now she's in New York City. She's an oncologist, but she's gotten back to playing music again. So now she's both.
Yeah, man, time flies.
Oh, it's crazy.
You know, you make a decision to do something and you put your mind to it. Before you know it, you're done. And
yep. Like this podcast, man. I've kept you for like an hour and 15 minutes already.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow, man.
We should actually start doing the podcast here. Let me hit record. I've had a blast. It's been a great talking to you about the album and the really cool music you're making, man. All of it, not just the new album, but the Morning 40 Federation, Rough 7. I'm really digging it.
Well, I appreciate that, man. I'm really happy that I've been acquainted with the podcast because, you know, it's our generation. You know, you talk to a lot of people from our generation and how important music is. It's easy to forget how important music was for our generation.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, like it was everything.
It really was.
To the subculture that we were part of. Yet not everybody, you know, we were part of a subculture, but for that subculture, man. Yeah. You know, it defined who we were in every way. Yeah. And so it is cool, you know, listen to you, you know, speak from that perspective and interview people from that perspective.
I appreciate that.
About music because, you know, I hadn't heard it quite in quite that way before. And I think I think you're doing an awesome thing, and I hope that you gain a lot of traction, man. And
appreciate that.
It gets bigger and bigger because I think it's super important what you're doing.
Cause everything isn't just okay when you're living it in let me see, sitting here watching my TV. Let me see, sitting here watching my TV.
Got everything